Good sunny afternoon, everyone. My name is Julian Tarsis. I'm leading the reporting practice for Schneider Electric in their consulting practice where we're supporting our customers. And I'm very grateful and honored to be with today Mathilde and Stefano to tackle a topic that I believe is really exciting. And I'm not saying that as a joke, but we're going to talk about compliance and how the challenge of that needs to be overcome so we can move further into our sustainability journey. So maybe Mathilde, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit and share some of your experience with the audience.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Mathilde Petria, and I'm the Chief Customer Success Officer at GRESB. For those who do not know GRESB, it stands for the Global Real Estate Sustainability Benchmark, and it's the leader in ESG rating in real estate and infrastructure. And my role is to make sure that all the participants who do the GRESB reporting have everything they need to be successful. And to do so, we collaborate with a lot of partners, such as Schneider Electric.
Thank you. I'm Stefano Corbella. I'm the Sustainability Officer of Coima. We are a developer based in Milan, and we are participant of GRESB. So we are obviously participant to many other certification and applying to sustainable disclosure, mandatory or voluntary. And therefore, happy to share with you all my experience in this field.
Yeah, and happy to have you there as well. So I was saying that I was really excited about compliance, and it's always resonated a little bit hard because compliance is all about something that seems a little bit nagging from my perspective. But the reason I'm saying that is I believe it's the accomplishment, or maybe not the accomplishment, but a major step in the sustainability journey. If you think about it, in the late 90s, where kind of the first sustainability standard emerged, it was more of a marketing thing, then becomes something that slowly was more a competitive advantage where multiple entities started to blossom. They were talking about rankers, we were talking about data aggregators such as GRESB, and companies were using that more as a competitive advantage, showing that they're getting prepared for the future and make sure that they're still going to be competitive in that sense. Today, the fact that it's slowly drifting into a compliance landscape resonates to me as a demonstration that as a society, we decided that it's no longer a luxury, it's no longer a competitive advantage, it's something that needs to happen as a mandatory step. So we're kind of getting all engaged into that process. So for me, that kind of really signifying that it's taking the problem on another level to a certain degree. And what I believe is also exciting is because it's becoming at that compliance level, obviously it presents challenge. And for me, that's going to be the first question to you. When we talk about challenge to our stakeholders, to the people that needs to be involved, there's always a need for them to know what's the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's where I would like to start, is wondering, okay, before we ask people to get involved in those challenges, what's the benefit they want to take out of it? And I would like your views on this as well and kind of promote that aspect. Where are we heading? Because the journey is going to be long and it's going to be demanding.
Well, I think there's two ways to approach the compliance. The one is that you have to do it, and that's some people may stop to the fact that they have to deliver certain disclosure because it's mandatory, and they tick the box. So they do whatever they have to do, and that's it. I think the next step is obviously you have to deliver the compliance piece of work, but also in having more information and having information about the sustainability profile of the investment or the product that you have helps you to improve or helps you to protect the investment that you are promoting or you are doing in a future landscape that is changing. And we have seen many signs of changing landscape. The climate is changing. The buildings, we are talking about buildings, are exposed to future risks, and therefore you have to take into consideration, not because it's a compliance matter, so you have to take into consideration that your building can be exposed to the climate change, flooding, heat waves, and so on, but also because you want to make sure that you protect the investment of your investors and you will have the building fully functional and ready for your tenant in the future. So there's two ways to look at that. We obviously want to make sure that the information that we collect and we report in our mandatory and voluntary compliance are used because are intelligently studied and used to protect the investment of our investors. I think that's the key elements that in future would be factored also in the valuation of a property more often. And it's far from be easy, because it's not an easy stuff. The perimeter of the data is growing as we speak. New regulation, new compliance regulation, and new factor are changing the landscape. And people need resources, company need resources to tackle this information. And some may approach a green bleaching strategy. We obviously not doing that. We want to go full speed into integrating sustainability, because we believe protect the investment of our investors.
Obviously, as a data aggregator, you're also part of promoting, I would say, the benefit of this journey. So would definitely value your views on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's always interesting to go back to the origin of GRESB. When it was created, it was initiated by investors who wanted to create a common language to assess sustainability issues and ESG policies, because everyone was doing their own little PowerPoint or their own Excel. So the goal was really to define this common language and to bring transparency in the market. And this reporting can obviously be a burden sometimes, but this reporting can also be a great tool to really engage between investors and managers. And we see, especially in a very challenging markets, that access to capital, for instance, is easier for those who have a lot of transparency around their sustainability strategies. So we really believe that we are an actor of change in that way, that we can promote what's really happening in a very standardized, harmonized way, and in a very accessible way to investors.
Yeah. And from my perspective, when I hear what you're explaining, I'm trying, and that's also one of the elements I promote when we do our work in reporting, and I think you summarize it well, is there will be an element where companies will invest willingly or will be forced to invest in their sustainability journey. That usually are very underlying process change that no one from the public or the investors are able to see. So if you're not able to properly report, rely on solid framework on GRASP and having the right investment to get there, it's a loss basically, because you invested so much money into transforming your business, but no one cares. No one really trusts you to do it. So having the proper reporting scheme, the proper information data to basically promote what you're doing and saying, I'm part of that journey, I'm moving forward, and I'm being cautious of the risks that are raising, and I'm getting prepared. And here's the evidence, is for me key. And I believe also that the other benefit I see from there is it's an incentive to even go further and repeat that cycle and say, we've made it there, let's make it the other steps. And again, promote that and have people buying into it. And what you're saying is really resonating to that, is protecting basically the value of your asset, because you're protecting the value of your asset, saying, I'm bulletproof against everything that is coming because I'm fully aware of my environment. And to your point, with GRASP, we need to have comparability in the data that we have, so we are able to benchmark and challenge each other as companies to basically say, okay, we're heading on the right direction, we're having the right metrics, we're doing the right choices. So I definitely see that. But to your point also, as you were making, is no one said it would be easy. So the question is, today, what are the main challenges you see that is preventing us to be part of that reality? What are the issues that you're facing from an operational perspective?
As I was mentioning before, the perimeter of the data is growing first. So environmental first, then social, then the parameter of governance of an investment, and so on. So it's not a steady state playing field data collection, and is very fragmented. The source of the data is very fragmented. The typical example is the environmental data from a building. Now, as a landlord, we have full access to our landlord consumption. About the tenant, we have to ask the tenant the consumption. Or obviously, digitalization of the building will help currently, and will help more maybe in the future, to collect those information without continually ask so that information to the tenants. And that is one of the key elements, no? Is one of the key challenges that the accessibility of data is very fragmented. The energy performance certificates, no? The access to those information is complicated. Sometimes you have direct access to that, sometimes are old. A building has multiple energy performance certificates. So the amount of data and the fragmentation of the data is one of the major challenges that we have as a property manager, as a property owner. And the second step, once you get a good amount of data, is the analysis of the data. And sometimes there's no common quality of the data that is collected, so you have to have some resources dedicated to that. If you want to completely understand what is happening in your property, and if you want to drive efficiency through your properties. And the example, I think, was last year when the energy price spiked quite a lot in Europe. And we have discussion with the tenant because they saw their bills going 5-fold up compared to the previous year. So, and then the attention was much higher on their energy bill. And going through with them, with the data, with quality data, and share actions to improve the efficiency of the building is a benefit for both, because that we will provide an efficient managed building that will save money, and they will stay into the building much longer compared to other buildings that may have better efficiency or so on. So it's important to dedicate some resources. I know it's complicated and not all the properties has capacity to do that. But going forward, or it's because it's voluntary, but more because it's going to be mandatory, the amount of resources dedicated to sustainability data is going to grow. That is a matter of fact. So going forward, companies will have to invest in that. Otherwise, they will rely on external resources, which sometimes is good, but you then do not have the full control of the data. You may lose some intelligent and precious information out of the data that someone else collects. Because data is a barrier, but also the capacity to understand and to use the data to extract information from the data. That is the key challenge, and is not all the competitors has this advantage. We hope we have a good knowledge about that, and we want to put ourselves into the forefront of managing buildings in very efficient and professional ways. That's our strategy, let's say.
Yeah, no, I get you. Obviously, Mathilde, from your perspective, that's not a problem for you, right? Data is easy to get in, easy to get out, right? Prove me wrong.
Well, for us, it's a bit specific because we get data reported to us, but we see the challenge of the participants to GRESB to get this data. That's the key challenge, especially the tenants' data. And we know it's very difficult to get that data. But I think some of the good practices we can share is that the one who have installed, for instance, smart meters, who have like building management systems in place, who can really help track live this data. And then instead of doing the really hard work, we know it's very hard, of filling a spreadsheet with all the assets, the one who have an API connection directly to the GRESB platform, and we can really automate this stream of data, that's a huge win for them. So that's really something that we see it's growing, and we know that with the evolution of technology that will really facilitate that challenge. And then once the data is there, that's a really, really good point. What do we do with the data? And I think we wanted people to spend much more time on analyzing the data and getting insights from the data and taking action than spending a lot of time collecting it. So at GRESB, for instance, we're actively working right now on building new dashboards and new insights based on the very vast amount of data that we have to make sure that we can provide to market participants such as Coema, but also to investors, really like actionable insight to take action and to really improve the quality of their portfolio. So we want people to spend more time on actually analyzing their GRESB results and benchmarking their portfolio than spending time on really reporting. And we know we're not there yet, but with the help of the technology, we're convinced that a lot will improve in the coming years.
Yeah, and I think you put the word in the middle of it, and that's that has been like the constant theme of the whole discussion we have throughout the whole of a session. It's technology and how we introduce technology to facilitate that, because collecting data by itself is not so much added value. It's a necessary evil. And the cynical in me would say that I'm making money out of this reality because my team support customers into collecting data, because we know how daunting it is at a certain point. But that's not an expectation I would like to set for basically the future of our team, because I also believe that that's not where the value lies. To give you an example, if I'm making a rough oversimplification of the time we spend with our customers, it would be a 70-30. 70% of our time collecting the data, barely 30% of trying to make sense out of it. And that's a pity. That's something we're missing, because it's so already demanding as an effort that it's even discouraging to even say, oh, I need to even look at what it tells. No, you move on to something else. And that's something I think we must strive a little bit further. And I believe also that's the reason why first technology, to your point on working into buildings, intelligence, metering, and all these aspects makes our life easier, because it makes the whole process much more valuable, where we're still going to be here to support our customers into the data collection, but we're going to be able to provide an additional value, which is we spend less time collecting the data, but we spend more time trying to analyze the consequences of that. And working, for instance, with GRAS, where we have a partnership, is key, because we also open those discussions about technology. How do we build better integration between the data we're getting? How is it flowing into the reporting scheme that they're holding? How does the aggregator find a much unified way of communicating? So those connections and relation we're building from a business perspective are essential for me, again, to move a little bit further in the sustainability journey. So I still want to make the same amount of money, even more, with the services that I deliver, but I would like to be 70% consulting and maybe 30% data collection, where we add more value. So that's where I would like to strive into shifting a little bit the needle into the aspiration. But that leads me to another question. So we talked about technology, and we're not exactly there, but we see that there's a move ongoing. There's something happening. There's maybe sometimes technology that are already there, but there's so many things that needs to consider, like investment, change management, awareness, stakeholder engagement. If we project ourselves and say we have all the planets aligned and we are able to do this, I would like to have your view about what do you think would be a vision of where technology perfectly aligns, helping you overcome those challenges. And then in the second step, if you can also, give us a little bit of a bright note about this is what it should be, having those technology at hand.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sometimes in the last few months, many people hear about the artificial intelligence. And I don't know if it's an hope or something that is scary about the artificial intelligence, but we're testing few stuff in some of our properties that work aligned with the BMS that we have in some buildings, to try to make some work in managing those amount of data, in automatically analyze those data. If I have a hope for the future, is that it's not necessary that it has to be the artificial intelligence, but is that the data is given and provided in order to be measured, and information can be extracted from the data. And as I was saying before, the perimeter is growing as we speak, and the correlation of those data with the financial outcome, it's key, it's important. That is probably the key elements to make sure that those information that we extract is going to be valuable to asset owner and tenants that occupy a building, that want to be in a building that is performing. And I think it's a process. It's going to take some time. There's a learning curve everywhere, not only on the property side, but on the tenant side, on the management, on the technical people that works into the building, or throughout the design and the construction of the buildings. And it's not an easy thing. I hope this is going to be the focus of the next 5 to 10 years, to really improve and this industry to make the next step. Some other industry has done a lot of improvement. The automotive, for example, or the industrialization of the process to build a car has been going through the digitalization much faster than the construction. which has the potential to be digitalized throughout design, construction, and management.
And that's very good insight in terms of operation. I'm also curious to hear about the reporting aspect, keeping in mind that, again, collecting data is, for now, a necessary evil. And I would like your view about what do you think is the next step, the next big thing for reporting?
I think that something that would actually really help, which is not really a technology, but more like a very strong force behind all of that, is regulation. I think the moments where regulation will say to all tenants that they have to report, and we talked about the EPBD, that might enforce that, like a common digital database where you have the energy consumption of everyone in the building, that will really help really streamline this heavy process. So I think sometimes we have regulations in very direction, and sometimes we lack this regulatory push to make sure that everyone feels that they have to do it. And that would really help managers like yourself to run after each tenant. If they have to do it, then that would make things easier.
I just had a comment about the regulation. And I think looking at the bright side of the regulation, for example, when the EU introduced the EU taxonomy, well, the EU taxonomy made a difference. No? Now investor and funds manager like us, we have to define what is the sustainable objectives of the investment. And taxonomy created a kind of common vocabulary and requirement to see if a building is taxonomy aligned and has to have certain characteristics. That is common to throughout Europe. And we use as a reference to make our investment sustainable. Bank will lend money to project or to investment funds that has those sustainability objectives into their policy. So it's some key points that has been changing the dialogue that we are having with our investor, which are going forward more focused on delivering capital to something that is driving sustainability and future-proof for their money. You know, we have capital that are pension schemes, so they are very conscious of lending money to high-risk investments. So in driving sustainability, in managing the risk of the sustainability into investment in a transparent way as per the EU Commission, is helping. It's not yet finished the work that has been to be delivered, but is helping the dialogue among investors and all the supply chain to deliver something that is truly sustainable. And it's fundamental. Now, my team, myself, and the other team participate with the dialogue with our investor, with the bank, with the insurance. Up to 4 or 5 years ago, that kind of the discussion didn't exist at that level of deep discussion. Now is becoming more common, and that is because the regulation. Sometimes the regulation are difficult to be implemented, are a pain to manage, but there are some positive outcome, which I think those are one of the many.
Yeah, that's really. That triggers a thought, as you were mentioning, because we've been talking a lot about technology and digitalization, and that's, again, for me, like one of the major drivers. But you elevated a point that I think it's also very valid, and I also feel that experience that sometimes we get a little bit, it kind of get into our blind spot that digitalization cannot work if you don't integrate element of standardization and automation, which I believe is what you're resonating. And I believe also that as early stage of regulation, so I'm thinking, for instance, for CSRD, it kind of goes out there. Every company is very stressed about how it's going to be impacting, how it's going to disrupt what they're going to be operating. So the whole process is having government putting that regulation. But I think sometimes we're also going to need to be patient into also having the tools that goes along with this, and having the companies or even the regulation incentive to basically say, now we've set that goal, here is basically how you should reach to that goal. It comes with standardization, and we talk about the EPB, and we talk about other things that are going in that direction. So I believe they kind of fall in the same spot. There's always going to be like voluntary organization that would try to set a standard, and if it is adopted, as for instance Grab is today, it becomes an implicit standard, not imposed. You don't necessarily have to to say that you, I don't know, 98% on GRAS. I don't know if that's a thing. Everyone gets there at one point, 98 at GRAS?
90 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot do.
A lot do. All right. No,
year
that's
after
good.
year, you get
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But the point is, you don't necessarily need that to basically say you're on sustainability. But if you don't have that credential, you're not really representing something that is tangible. And that's a very implicit way. No government has said you need to be GRASP compliant. They just say you need to rely on it. And I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think that's to your point of engaging with your investors. That's what GRESB is really meant to do, to help you start, for those who start their ESG journey, and to understand what they need to look at and what they need to work on, and then assess how they're doing, because ESG is so complex. It's 3 components, more than 150 metrics, so it's really hard to engage on those. So at least when you do the GRESB assessment, then you have a way to start and engage with your investors, and then you get a part of this regulatory work already pre-done. For instance, if you look at SFDR, if you've done the real estate GRESB assessment, we have an overlap of about 75% with SFDR, so that's already pre-prepared. So really the goal is to help you engage, help you understand where you are, how you stand compared to your peers, and then help you move towards the regulation. So that's what we try to do to support the industry.
Yeah, and I think the good point, we are GRESB submitter. The good point is that helps to improve, to set the standard, because regulatory the regulations set a standard that has to be manageable for everyone. No, has to be delivered as a standard. The rating is also adding the point in which you are pushed to improve above the best practice or above the average, because you want to demonstrate that you do the extra mile, you do the adding value to a certain investment or a certain property. So I think GRESB had fulfilled a lack in the market in measuring ESG, and that's why it has been quite successful, I would say. And we are happy to participate, because it has supported us also in looking at other metrics that we didn't necessarily measure at the start of our journey in integrating sustainability. And the fact that it's evolving year after year is support also the industry in taking into consideration certain elements that, as we speak at the early of this meeting, the landscape is changing and the perimeter of the evaluation is growing, and those tools support us and the industry to set, certain benchmark in the leadership market. Because if you want to, the basic market or the common market can work nicely with the energy performance certificate for the residential or the small owner and so on. But once you are structuring an investment, or you're structuring and discussing with the investor certain elements, you want to demonstrate certain capacity and capability and management, risk management of the sustainability aspect. And the GRESB has supported definitely this journey to us and to many other investors.
Thank you for both of you for your contribution. That was really insightful. I'm trying to briefly summarize a little bit some of the key ideas. My personal take is I'm excited about compliance for everything we just said. It's a complex topic, it's a demanding topic, but it's also a way that our society, again, admit that there's something that needs to be done and it's no longer a luxury. We saw that technology can solve for many problems we'll see and many operation efficiency we need to solve for, but we should not also discount for the need for standardization and automation from what I'm hearing. And again, there's a variety of factors that contribute. GRESB is the one for me. GRESB is one of the key one, helping you kind of maximizing the benefit you're taking of this endeavor. And again, incentivizing customers to go forward and move further into that group. And again, companies that come are leading the way and showing their excitement about moving that and not taking this only as a compliance exercise is also, I believe, a good signal for future as well. Though, again, the journey is not going to be easy. No one said it would be, but it could be promising again if we take it on that side, I think. So thank you for attending. I was really pleased for that session and really pleased and honored to be supported by Mathilde and Stefano again. So thank you again.